substitution themselves, maybe they could get something out of a honeymoon period with this. How do I pronounce that? I really don't want to mispronounce that, because the way I'd mispronounce that would be very funny. Okay, whatever he just said, right? In that AD carry role, maybe this is a guy where you don't just ban Aphelios and win the game automatically. Apparently it's a guy where you ban the Ashe and win the game automatically. So let's see how much that does towards Vanir. They looked very, very good last time around, getting very close to a win with that Tristana, but ultimately Vanir, they still seem to be a Liam Cole on Aphelios or Bust team. Maybe they change their identity today. It's not like it's their only threat, right? Kitana on that top lane, he can play a lot of good carries. Maybe they just pivot to playing around him.
Yeah, this is a battle of the top versus battle of the bottom right now. Obviously, with Unique winning their previous game, that means they're now tied with Vanir, although technically Vanir are above them because they haven't played this game yet. But if they lose this, they will be tied with Unique. So as you said, a lot of pressure being put on them, because coming into today, Vanir were only one game away, one win away from making that middle of the pack into playoffs. Now things are looking a little bit difficult, and Verdant obviously no easy team to face, by far our best team. Yeah, just absolutely stomping everyone and doing some really crazy things. And speaking of, just instantly slapping down two of those AD carry picks in Kai'Sa and Tristana. Really bringing it to Vanir right from the get-go.
Yeah, every all-in champion that you could pair with that well just instantly gets taken out by Verdant, and Vanir respond by going double disengage, right? Which is a very, very good pivot. They can also go a disengage support champion or a disengage jungler, because they've gone with the first pick rel. I think that's the third first pick rel we've seen today, by the way. I don't know what's going on in scrims and the ERLs. Well, I do know it's first pick rel, right? So interesting to see a Verdant just hardcore commit to an all-in dive composition, or if they try to pivot themselves, because Tristana can match the range of both of those two champions over time and with levels. Well, that answers that. We're all in all the time. We're going to show Ruddy how it's done. All right, this is a full engaged team, but definitely has more scaling options than the Ruddy composition.
Yeah, it's nice to try and get the best of both worlds, so that even if your early game plan isn't effectively executed, you've got win conditions that you can play towards later. And I think for Vanir, they've kind of locked in what they want. I don't feel like these champion picks are alien to them, particularly the Syndra here for Harbo. I think one of the laners who has had a few more difficulties going up against Nitra is always going to be a tough matchup, but on stuff like the Annie and stuff like the Syndra, he always seems to find value.
Yeah, and I think the Syndra as well is a pretty safe pick. You can just sit back and chill. You've got your decent range. You've got gank set up if you need that. You've got disengage. As Aaron said, you've got some all-in potential as well. So you're not really pigeonholing yourself into any specific play style just yet, as we are going to round off our bans from Verdant with Gitano-focused bans here. Our French top laner getting rid of the Olaf and the Kled. Still like someone like Darius available, which Gitano likes to play. He really, that kind of style of top laner is really in this guy's wheelhouse. There's kind of just bruiser-focused top. There's potentially lane bully focused tops as well. Wouldn't be too surprised if we see something more along those lines, especially with the rel already being picked. Less of a demand for that tanky kind of front line on your team with that one slapped down.
Yeah, and you have to remember, right, Kitano, he loves those kinds of bullies, but Nyla, we've seen him be played around. Yeah. He plays really heavy split push champions, so if Kitano does it, well, Nyla's now matched him with the Renekton pick, right? The be-all, end-all lane bully pick, but we saw that pick last game. How did it really go after the laning phase, right? Stomping in lane, couldn't stomp enough, Kindred's being locked in, Swackers being hovered for whatever reason would be a funny thing to pick. Unlikely to actually be locked in. But how are you going to pivot off of this for the rest of the game? You're going to use him as part of an all-dive composition. That's going to mean he's very reliant on the rest of his lanes doing well as well, which was the Achilles heel last time.
The final lock-ins coming through very swiftly. That Braum means that we're going to be getting a Mumu in the jungle for Taxa, I believe.
Yes, he has played this once before already, this split. So yeah, obviously, it's funny, isn't it, how the Mumu in the jungle is a little bit of a, that's strange nowadays when, But no, it is going to be him in the jungle. One of the lower-ish pressure junglers, especially pre-6, can get some things happening, but I would be very surprised to see that. If anything, I mean, maybe you can match up with a Renekton or something, but I don't think you care about that lane at all. Honestly, I'm just gonna say it straight out. I feel like Vanir have not got a great draft into this team comp. I like what Verdant's done here. This Braum pick specifically, I think as well, just really has ruined a lot of what Vanir want to do, and that's gonna make things a little bit tricky here for Vanir.
I worry a little bit about overloading, like we saw previously, with the composition trying to go and disengage into a lot of what, in this case, Vanir want to do. Braum has really good options to make Syndra's life impossible, Ornn's life impossible, and Zaya's life impossible, and Rel's life impossible, but he can't be everywhere at once. There are cooldowns on this champion, otherwise we'd be picking him every single game, but against any individual one of those, at least one of those is not going to be functional in those team fights, and Braum will have done his job by removing them from it.
I think the wrinkle on that, though, is Vanir. They've technically got 3 carries in this comp, right? If you're pulling out that Kindred coming through from the jungle. And whilst I think Nilla on a Renekton can offer some soft carry potential, especially in the slightly earlier phases, double AD carry scales pretty damn well into the late game if Vanir are able to stay stable in the team fights.
I just worry about the lane prio for Kindred. I don't like picking Kindred without lane prio. You've got Ornn into Renekton. That's Syndra into Tristana. Again, I just don't think that's... You would imagine the Tristana is going to do bits there. And the thing is, when you're playing Kindred with no lane pro, like, you are a bit vulnerable to getting invaded, though I don't think that's going to happen specifically this game. More importantly, you can't get your marks. You know, and if you can't get marks, you're basically not a champion. Especially that 4th mark is a really important one to hit.
Ordinarily, sure, but I actually think Braum level 1 is so utterly powerful here, and you have the winning lane state mid on Tristana at early levels, that the play for Verdant should actually be invade bot side on the delay level 1, and then play diagonal into your top side jungle, so both your top and your bot lane can play aggressive, and you can match on either side. You 3-quadrant the enemy jungler that absolutely needs these farms, absolutely needs these marks, definitely isn't going to get it on the first pass. You allow your Renekton to play aggressive, you allow your bot lane to play aggressive, because the enemy bot lane can't trade because you're starting on that side, and if they do so, suddenly the Kaiser is ahead, and they can't really respond to you level 1. So I actually think the play is go hard and fast level 1, go diagonal with the Amumu with the Tristana priority, and just win the entire map from that stage, and be a nightmare from them later in the game. Yeah, I have to choose with the Verdant composition, and it looks like a group play with the Braum is what they're going to do. Immense power on that champ. Whenever you see Braum, you have to think about level 1 as with the...
Ooh! Naxa starting the queue is going to have a second cast of that ability, PP Bats.
Oh no.
Flashing away under his own tower. Flash follow from Nita, and... Well, I mean, Wendell didn't even need to get an assist, but Verdant still get a kill on the enemy jungler at level 1.
Oh my goodness, it's doomed. It is doomed. This is suboptimal. This is quite suboptimal here for Vanir.
Re-invade bot side. Re-invade bot side. Do it.
The downside to this play is that Taxa has Q, right? So he will need help on his first camp. You can't just leave him alone anymore, because that Q is the worst ability for you to have level 1. So it's unlikely that Verdant will leave him alone here to go for some other kind of cheeky play. Obviously, those tears or your E are also... They're good for killing things, but Q absolutely not. I was a little bit surprised even to see Taxa go for it at level 1, because it is such a big loss for you in that clear, but obviously so worth it getting that kill onto Tristana.
And it wasn't a full delay invade like I was expecting. It was in fact an early invade, which allows Tristana to recall and get that longsword for lane. She doesn't have to choose between lane sustain or damage. She has both starting level 1, and the Mumu will have a lot to play through to deny this Kindred marks.
It's PP Bat also playing without Flash, having burned that at that level 1, so the Kindred in a really rough spot. And we said that we were expecting Verdant to get priority, particularly in this mid lane, and Nita having an advantage this early on is going to feel great. Harbo still can get some stuff done on the Syndra, and if Nita oversteps, there are angles that you can set up CC for PP Bat to play around. The issue is Nita has been one of the most consistent mid laners in the league at not overstepping and always coming out of lane on top.
Not only is he one of our more consistent mid laners, I think he's the best mid laner we have here. From what we've seen, I absolutely think... And we've got quite a few, to be fair. We've got quite a few good mid laners here in the NLC, but yeah, I would certainly put Knight at top 1 or top 2. He's absolutely up there, not someone you want to give first blood to. And as you mentioned, you know, there are some kind of combos that you can use to lock him down and to... Maybe with that Scatter the Weak or something to stun him, followed up with a Kindred Engage. But it's not easy. It's not easy to do with the way that Tristana should have position in the wave, and obviously with that rocket jump. There you go.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. It's just too difficult. I just don't think you can play through this lane at all, and Harbo is going to be just not providing too much for his team. Knight should be able to shove him in and then move around as much as he wants, and Kindred's going to have a very tough time.
Wendell being jumped onto by PP Bats. Mark going to come through. He doing a fair bit of damage to the Verdant support, but he's going to be fine for the time being. Taxa with a little excursion of his own into the mid lane, but not able to find anything for himself. Looking at both these comps, do we feel like either team is forced to play a bit more aggressive in the early stages, or are they content to scale and take the game a little bit longer, Veteran?
I mean, honestly, looking at it, you'd think Vanir have the better teamfight composition, but Verdant have responses to almost everything that they want to do, right? Obviously, there's Braum into the Ornar too, but even if Braum was able to hit that, it's not actually the end of the world, because Tristana has mobility, Renekton has mobility, Kai'Sa's mobility. There aren't low mobility champions for Ornn to be engaging on. So then Braum just makes Syndra's life absolute hell. Tristana can get an execute with her art even into the Kindred ultimate.
Vitano, very smart trade here onto Lele. May not even need the help of PP Bats. Double dash away from the Renekton as he recalls under his tower. Still has the flash, but PP Bat has decent bit of burst. There isn't really anyone coming to save Vanilla at the moment.
Well, that's cheeky little wolf there as well. Yeah, Nile's going to be in a lot of trouble here. He's going to have to try and cull the wave a little bit.
Oh, level up, actually. Going to get a load of healing. PP Bat not able to take down under the tower. The flash away keeps the Renekton alive. And on the weak side, being able to do that, exactly what your team needs.
Solid. Very good. Very good survival skills there by Nile. Definitely had no business surviving that one at all, to be honest, with all the time that Vanir had as well to set that one up. Really, really well played. Getting away with that one with his life. Going to get that pickaxe on his recall with his TP back into lane as well. Lots more damage here, lots more pressure. We're getting to that point where, honestly, this Renekton becomes a little bit unkillable. Or ungankable, I should say, because he will turn it around and kill any of the gankers that come his way. Unless it's maybe Harbo. Harbo can keep him at range and do a little bit of burst, but I would not want to be the Kindred in this situation, ganking a post-6 pickaxe Renekton. That could be very scary.
Harbo getting engaged on the mid lane from Naito. He's just ticked level 6, actually. Stun comes through from Tax. The unleash power into the stun onto both of them. PP Bats going to tank the bandage toss for his mid laner. No one dies in the middle section of the map.
I think they should have focused Tristana there, maybe. Would have been a better play. Don't know whether it would actually got a kill though, but yeah. Still, just going to be handshaking a little bit there. That is Syndra's ultimate down, however, so pretty big play there.
And with that off the board, it means that Naito can play a little bit more aggro off of his next reset. A little bit of trading there in the bottom lane, but not too much to come of it. 6.5 minutes on the clock, and Verdant moving towards the Drake.
Yeah, and it should be a good opening Drake for Verdant. I think a big thing that they're thinking is that not only do they have good tools later on, but they also will have range. So if they were to give up this particular Drake, it wouldn't necessarily be a big issue. As Vanir, though, you need to be winning a lot, and you don't necessarily have the lanes to do it. I like this opening build coming out from Naito, by the way. He does see the win cons on the enemy team. He knows that if Syndra sets up, that's the only way he gets taken down. If Rel sets up on him, that's the only way he gets taken down. This gives him the survivability. Over time, he will win the fight. So he's just making sure that he buys that time for the rest of his team. And enemy have gotten first reset here on bot lane. Verdant are going to move back on a bit of a delay here. And this could give a window for Vanir to try to play for Drake.
I mean, especially with Harbo. Yeah, he's not really there at the moment. He's going to be able to take that blue. Nearly level 6 on the Kindred. And obviously, once you get access to the Lamb's Respite, makes things a heck of a lot easier. Naito actually gets interrupted on the rocket jump away, but still hits 2 with the Buster Shot and get out of there with his life intact.
What do we say about that ulti and that cooldown? So close. Harbo could have brought him down if he had it, but wasn't up. I think it's just come up now, so that was a very, very low cooldown and almost the opportunity to kill Nita there. It does mean that he's been pushed away here from the mid side, so Vanir might try and look for a cheeky little play around the Herald, but Verdant in a good response, and this is a level 6 Amumu as well. Here comes the flash ult.
Yeah, easy as you like. PP back getting over the wall. Wendell following him by himself. Garfield locking down the Verdant support, and that's an unleashed power directly into the Unbreakable, but Nita getting turned onto by Garfield doesn't have the support from his team, and it's a second kill over to the Tristana.
Yeah, the Tristana, by the way, waits for Harbo to burn the ultimate before following up, right? He had low HP, he would have been destroyed by Harbo if Harbo had been a bit more patient. Harbo was effectively zoning him by not using the ult, and then when he used the ult, didn't even pick up a kill off of it. Tristana knew this is the moment, even if they lock me down here, I'm the one that has the execute, not them. I'm going to be able to survive. He didn't even have to burn flash.
Very good use of his, knowing his limits there. Good old Nita to make that one happen. 2 kills. It's a good situation for him. You mentioned smart itemization as well, veteran, with that Merc Treads buy. That is one of the really sad things about Syndra, is that Mercs just hard counter you. Like the stun reduction from Scatter the Weak, that sucks. The magic resist, that sucks. And the increased move speed from rushing tier 2 boots when you're playing a champion with literally all your basic abilities are skill shots. Playing versus someone with higher mobility is just makes it so much more difficult.
It is sadness all around for Harbo here. He's used to playing these kinds of Jinwei-esque utility champs, and we're not just talking Nico Lissandra here. And now it doesn't look like he's even able to use that utility of Nita, and Nita's definitely doing him in damage. 2-0 already, right? They've played really hard to get Nita this lead, and he's so far used it well. Verdant in the lead of a composition that we do think is going to do well later on in the game as well.
So then, what's the answer for Vanir? They've got level 6 on Garfield, they've got Kitano with the Call of the Forge God as well. Is it the case of look for a play around an objective, maybe go for a dive?
They want to be trading sides and they want to be trading angles there, right? So if the enemy does go for a Herald on top side, maybe to use that to dive bot, but then the enemy has Braum there on bot side. If you want to try to dive top, like Foxtrot was saying, Renekton can get to these points where he's basically insurmountable. So the honest best option for them is probably going to be to just try to make a pick in enemy jungle, right? Try to catch them on rotation. Play really hard to one lane that you can get pushed out, and try to do something like catch Wendelbow here as PP is doing. If you can catch them as they're looking to get vision or looking to clear your vision, that's the best thing. You may have to give up some tempo off it, but that's how you get yourselves back in the game.
Speaking of tempo though, Verdant getting that shove in mid, just looking to go into the enemy jungle. It's a shame they can't get any vision down here. I don't think that Wendell has any available to him, so that's a bit unfortunate. Could really light up the bottom side of the map there and make it difficult for PP to walk around without being spotted out. As you can see, there's a good amount of vision on the top side. Not too deep, but it's still something, at least to keep his team safe. As it does look like for now, we're kind of just keeping even on farm across the board. Those 2 kills really being the only differential here in that goal, that 1.5k gold lead. I will say though, in the mid side, I think Harbo's doing pretty well here. Like, he's got a, being even in farm there is good when there's 2 kills on your lane opponent. Not losing any of your plates is really nice as well. I do like this pick here on the Syndra because you can just endlessly wave clear, especially at this point when you've got your lost chapter. And I think in a side wave, or anytime you're in a 1v1 matchup versus Tristana with this game going on, I don't think it's a terrible matchup. You get one combo on them and they're dead. So definitely can have a lot of threat onto the Tristana, as it looks like Verdant now setting up for that dive. One of the weaknesses of Syndra, low mobility. Will it come back to bite her?
Hey, Harbo doesn't even have the flash, so even the bare minimum in terms of mobility spells not on offer for the Syndra. Nita just dancing out of tower range, not trying to give away the game just yet, but with Garfield rotating over, I think Verdant are thinking they've taken a little bit too long to make the play. Still going to stay there though, as Vanir actually rotating towards a play on the bottom side of the map. Gooby still has the flash, still has the cleanse, is going to have ult in just a moment as well. Enters away, removes the slow, and is able to walk out under the tower.
Oh!
Yeah, well, Harbo really not enjoying his life. Nita getting the Buster shot away. Wendell actually going to be the one to take out the kill. That was sloppy stuff coming out from Verdant, but they get a kill out of it, and they don't lose anyone.
Not ideal.
Win. Go on.
I mean, obviously, getting a kill onto Wendell, not good. You don't want Braum to be getting fed. He doesn't really need any gold, and also they weren't able to take down. They had their eyes set on more. The fact that everyone from Vanir was on bot side. There are a lot of people on bot side, especially in jungler to respond to it. He wasn't around, and you know, they don't get that third plate the way they wanted it to. They could have done a whole lot of hurt on the top side. Nilla's in trouble though.
Yeah, second time Kitano's been able to get the crocodile low, but for a second time, he's not able to kill him.
A sloppy win, though. A sloppy win is a win nonetheless, right? And I do need to brush up on my support itemization, but if Braum's plan is to go lock it in this game, then that's definitely going to be good to get him accelerated further into that. Because once Sniper has Locket, has Guardian, has all these tools, the Syndra becomes functionally completely useless, especially the Merc Shreds coming out from both. Always remember resistances carry through into shields, so it's going to be a very difficult time for Harbo to have any use in this fight, and then you can lay all the crowd control that you want. It's not going to work. They even have the tenacity to get around that. So I'm not too bothered by Braum getting it. I think the play was sloppy. I think you shouldn't have burned as many summoners as you did for it. But ultimately, it's still just good news for the side of Verdant.
And Vanir are hoping for some good news. It's just first tower. Moxo's going to be forced away. Doesn't stay around too long to be punished by Taxa, but Verdant have been able to accelerate the map state fairly efficiently without having to get too many kills themselves. 3k to the goods and scaling into this game very, very nicely.
Question now. The second dragon on the board. Vanir were able to take the first one. Not really an indication of how the game was going. It's just, you know, these early dragons aren't usually valued too highly by teams. As a handshake, instead of it going for the Herald or anything like that, it's going to be a mark for PP-Bat. And I think he did already get one, so this will be his second mark, at least. I think it's his second mark here. He could have maybe one or two more.
Yeah, observers, could we have a click on PP-Bat? Let's just have a little look at how much this Kindred's got in terms of stacks.
Three. Okay. One off the magic number then. 4 stacks is where you get your increased attack range and ability range, which really turns Kindred into a champion. Before then, it's kind of like, I like to think of it as Kane without his form, right? That's like the 4 stack for Kindred. Not quite as extreme, but a little bit like that. And until she reaches that number, she is going to be significantly less threatening.
Harbo moving into the bottom lane with no TP means that Vanir will give up pressure around the Herald. They recognise that if Verdant want to fight for it, they can always bring more members. So the better option, just to give it up. But you don't want to be giving advantages over to Verdant. They are still building up this lead, and with no one defending mid lane tower, this could get slammed, or they could use it to make a play in the top.
It looks like they really want to do it, and there isn't a huge response play. You just have Syndra going for pressure on bot side. You could be getting Kindred her 4th mark there, but that's ultimately it. Renekton, it would do well for him to actually play for this Swamp first, but it looks like Vanir, no, this is going to be the best chance we'll get. They're going to get solo gold on Star on top side. Charles going to get the bounce back, but at least we can get something that will make fights easier for us.
Nilla's going to let Dot get locked down, but Taxa finds 2 with the Curse of the Samurai Flash and eviscerates PP-Bat. Harbo finally going to roam over and interrupt, and Nilla with that scatter. Kitano cools the Forge God and prevents Verdant from getting any more kills, but PP-Bat got caught with his hand in the cookie jar a little bit there.
That was just so well read by Verdant. They moved towards the top side, and they walked over the scuttle vision in the river, and so Vanir was like, oh, okay, Verdant's doing things top side, let's handshake bot side, let's make a move into the bot side of the jungle. But instead of Verdant actually progressing with that top side play, they instantly recalled and then bombed it back down bot, and they were there to match that play. It was really, really smartly done, really well played. And on top of it all, Nisa was still in top, by the way. He'd never left top. So he got that tower all by himself for free, picked up some extra waves by himself too. Like, he picked up so much there, and that was just like a win across the board for Verdant. Really smart play.
With all the outer towers now taken down, Vanir are going to have a rough time contesting objectives. The small boon for them is that we've still got 2 minutes until Baron is something that they even need to think about. But as soon as that spawns, Verdant are going to be thinking about it a heck of a lot.
This definitely does look, though, like a top 2 team versus a bottom 2 team. Ruddy don't look that stable right now, but when it comes to Natives and Verdant, definitely looking like a stable set for them. Maybe you're challenging for the middle, maybe even you can challenge for 4, but first, second seem far beyond the reach of the current cream of the crop in the NLC.
Herald summoned for a charge onto the top lane, but it doesn't result in it going down. Verdant invested a fair bit of vision into this topside jungle with those control boards that Garfield should now be able to clear out. For Vanir, what is the copium? What is the thing that gets them back into this game?
PayPal.
PayPal. That's one way to put it, I suppose. It is looking kind of dire. I wasn't really a fan of Vanir's position right from the draft, to be honest. Like, I think... Yeah, I just really liked what Verdant did. The answers to Vanir's comp. I think, obviously, Verdant being a better team as well plays into it, and the way this game's gone, it's difficult. It's very difficult. But to answer your question more from, like, I guess from that copium standpoint, I still think that Harbor, he's had a really good game. He's done some really solid things, and I think he's still a massive threat when you consider just how squishy a lot of the threats are on the side of Verdant, at least, right? Like I know that Brawn with the locket, with the stand behind me, or whatever it's called, is W, and then the Guardian shield. Like, that's a lot to get through. But if you can catch someone, that's still a lot of damage from Syndra. Desire is still scaling up as well. And you do have good ways to create space for your carries, you know, with support and the CC coming through from the likes of Rel and Ornn too.
Verdant contesting Vanir's bottom side jungle very aggressively, taking away some of these resources, denying as much income as they can away from PP. That red buff going to go over to Taxa, and Nilo gets a bonus buff for himself. Love that change for Verdant, as Dragon's going to be spawning, and they look like they're going to pick it up.
It does says it all there, though, right? Vanir, they had their carries in play. Verdant, they didn't have all their carries in play, and yet Vanir, they know they have to give up that fight. They're only willing to go for massive numbers advantage, and they think they found that in the top lane.
What? Why? I'm confused. Vanir could have done something there, no?
Well, it's Flash and Ult are up on Niter. If you burn your summoners there, then you're going to lose the Baron contest immediately, so it's not really worth trading all of yours for Niters, and that's ultimately what's likely to happen. I think if my team burned all of their utility summoners on top side, I just FF the game, because you're losing Baron on the next pass. Again, PayPal.
PayPal. Yeah, it's just, in this position, you kind of just want to see a sign of life, right? I guess that's what I'm looking for here, and I'm not really seeing it from Vanir. They are struggling to make really anything happen across the map. Any proactive play on it's just so doomed, man. It's just so doomed. Even when it shouldn't be, it is. Talking about that Baron pass. How's this one looking for a Baron setup? I don't think there's anything Vanir can do about it.
Imagine they have no flashes on their Rel, on their Ornn, anything like that. 100% nothing. As is, there's a chance. A low-key chance, but as Jim Carrey would say, he's saying that there is a chance, and they're going for it. The flash!
Garfield flashes in, but Tax is able to get the Baron. Massive wombo combo stuns in the pit, but Nilla is able to persist and get out of there. Verdant lose one, but they get the Baron.
Embrace macro timings, Foxdrop. The flashes really came into force there, right? And because they didn't burn them all on Tristana topside, they were able to pick up something. Yes, they've lost the Baron, but getting a kill is literally more than they got for the previous 21 minutes of that game. They'll take it. They'll definitely take mid tower off it, because that kill forced Verdant to have to reset on the top side, and now they just want to trade that for a recall. And taking mid tower down definitely puts the map in a much easier spot for Vanir than it did before. Did that also get PP Bat a stack?
I believe it did. He was going for a little bit of an invade onto that bottom side Gromp, and I think he was able to take it away. So, good stuff for Vanir, but now they do have to cope for the next 2 minutes with Verdant pushing with a Baron, and with how strong, how decisive this team has looked. that could prove to be more fatal than Vanir would anticipate. Just Gooby and Wendell pushing in the mid lane for the time being. This AP Kai'Sa so disgusting from long range with the Void Seekers, but Garfield trying to get a little bit more up close and personal. Glacial Fish are going to buy some space, some time for Gooby to back away, and you see with a chunk onto Moxox there just how much this Kai'Sa hurts.
God, it's so painful, isn't it? It's so difficult. The downside of having a carry jungler as well is you don't... It's one less person to block the Kai'Sa W. You know, you've got Rel, you've got Ornn, but Ornn's always just going to be matching in the side lane, so he's not really grouped up to body block. It really just is the Rel who's level 9 versus Gooby's level 14. Even he's paper at this point. Like, there is no one that wants to tank a Kai'Sa W. And you're seeing it, it's just impossible to play against. It's so tough unless you can sidestep, and that proves to be a little bit too difficult for Vanir.
Wave's not completely synced, so this bot lane going to crash a little bit earlier than that wave in the mid, and Verdant are going to consider backing away for the time being. But Wendell is getting very aggressive in the mid lane here. He's potentially going to get caught out. Call the Forge comes through from Kitano onto Nita, but there's no real follow-up for Vanir. Moxox pulls back the feathers, takes Wendell to 30% HP. Kitano still going forward. Gooby still full HP, but here comes Taxa over the side. Curse the Sad Mummy onto 3. The Lamb's Respite buying a little bit of time for Vanir, but as soon as it finishes, the wallet diff comes through. Moxox able to claim a kill onto Nilla as it's a TP from base for Nita chasing down Vanir. Moxox throws out the feathers, gets one onto Wendell, but it's still Verdant coming out ahead in the fight.
It's the rookie player for Vanir that is showing up in these fights. He played super aggressively, super far forward, kind of like Toaster wishes he was doing in that Luddy game, and he's able to pick up some kills. He's 2-1 now. He's in a position where he could actually get some items, actually get some damage down. PP Bat kiting Taxa out. Ultimately, he's just going to try to get back home, back into the base. Nicely done by Tristana, though, right? Knowing that with her W, she can play all the way back when Ornn goes for Call of the Forged God, which only just learned is the name of that ultimate, and just W back in whenever she wants. But very well played by Moxox. He's showing that he's not going to be a walkover, and Vanir aren't just going to be a walkover.
And it turns out you can take out Liam Cole, but Vanir relying on their AD carry to come up huge for them in late game team fights is still how things appear to be going. Verdant 8,000 gold to the good. Their AD carry incredibly fed at this stage. Both of them, in fact, his Nita has almost completed his third item. Gooby already got that Ludens, and those Ws were hurting before. They are absolutely disgusting to behold at this point.
Oof. Again, no one to tank them either, so yeah, it's the perfect situation here for Kai'Sa. Just on cooldown, you just aim those Ws, see if you can chunk someone. Kitano is the only one who can shrug them off, and as I mentioned, he's ready grouped up to be base tanking those skill shots. This will be the third dragon of the game here for Verdant, putting them on the soul point. And to be honest, Cloudsoul was pretty scary as well. Verdant going to make a lot of use out of that one. Vanir pushing up mid, I'm not quite sure. I think this could be a little bit risky. They do see, of course, Nita in the top side with no teleport. If they're trying to, like, squeeze something out of this game, but it's just so difficult to do so. Vanir, they are lurking. They do want it. Gooby's going to face check.
Well, Kai'Sa a little bit on his lonesome. Garfield going to jump on top of him. One shot!
Moxox!
And with the AD carry removed, Verdant are running for the hills. Vanir find 2. No Baron for them to take, but structures on their minds.
The Call of the Forged God is on all of his champions, and they're all meeting that call. Look at the amount of Ornn-empowered items on the team. That's making up for some of the gold deficiency. Ornn basically adding 6k gold on towards them, which essentially evens it up against Verdant. Verdant, off of one vaguely even fight, and only one lost fight.
Oh, hold on.
This game has turned.
Vanir found another pick there. They could have looked for the end. As it stands, though, it's just a couple of towers in the mid lane trying to equalize that gold differential, like you said. And yeah, considering the Ornn items as well, Vanir a lot closer in this game than maybe they should be. Taxa stepping too far, beautiful stun, but he turns it around with the curse of the Sad Mummy. Nita still untouched, and that stopwatch buying so much time. Taxa is still going to be falling down, but it's enough for Nita to get over the wall. That could have been disastrous for the team in green.
I was honestly, I was all on board that attack to train there. Getting caught and instead of like panicking and running away, flashing into everybody with that curse of the sad mummy. I thought he'd done it. I think he only he only caught 4 people there, which wasn't quite enough. But if Gooby was a little bit closer, that could have been disastrous for Vanir. And let's not forget as well, Baron's up. It's on the cards here, so a good team fight here will lose you, or will win you a lot. You know, you'll be able to pick up the kills, you'll be able to get a push, and even that big purple worm. So almost making it happen, but another good pick, another good kill by Vanir.
Taxter has built his entire reputation based off of these Baron stills over the course of the year, but you have to remember, for the Baron to be stolen, you have to be behind, so classic Taxter and putting his team behind so he can claim that Baron still later on and somehow get the MVP anyway.
I mean, that's how it all works, but I think Verdant need to start being a little bit more respectful of Vanir, because Moxox, 3 items for himself on parity with Gooby, and if you stack up on a load of those feathers in a late-game team fight, they can eviscerate you. They can pull Vanir right back into a game that should be lost. 2 minutes until Verdant can claim a Cloud Soul. I think they need to calm down, slow things down a little bit. Otherwise, Vanir could find themselves with an opportunity to get back into the game.
See what they decide to do at this point. It's crazy to me seeing Vanir being the one step
Ooh,
up.
Wenzel's
caught.
Braum, pretty damn tanky. Flash forward from Kitano. Glacial Fizz are going to be invested as well. A stun. Every single bit of CC onto the Braum. And he's going to get taken down. Verdant not able to answer back with any damage of their own.
No, they take down Wendell, but what were we saying? Like, the Braum is actually a very important piece of Verdant's composition. It makes life very hard for Harbo. It makes life very hard for Ornn. It makes life very hard for the Rel, but that guy's not making anyone's life hard. In fact, Taxi's gonna do it.
No. Ooh, the Lamb's Respite gonna buy time. Taxa hasn't thrown down the smite. It's all up to this.
He didn't do it.
PP Bat doesn't blink. He will take down the Baron, and Vanir will take the fight as well. Gooby trying to survive on the back line, trying to take down Kitano, but he can't. Niter offering damage in the pit. The snipe from the Void Sneaker, but here comes Harbo to the mid-jungle of Vanir. Gooby flashing over the wall, the killer instinct out of Verdant's AD carry. Has kept their chances alive in this game, but Vanir are not going down without a fight.
What is happening in this game? This is ridiculous.
Gooby getting caught earlier with the Braum. That was a big issue, right? They were able to roll down mid lane, but Gooby just made the plays. Prayed to the correct god to land that W earlier on as well. Making a really, really strong place to keep Verdant into that game. Love seeing it from him. He's pulling up when it matters, and can we just give PP Bat and the Warders? That's literally the first time I haven't seen Taxa get a Baron that's being done in this game.
Gosh, it's so difficult, isn't it? Like, I just don't understand how Vanir's pulled this back, and massive props to them, huge credit. I was a doubter right from the get-go, and they proved me wrong. Unfortunately for them, though, this will be soul for Verdant. That Cloud Soul on the Dragon going down. Very good soul to take for the ultimates on the side of Verdant for sure, and it really is just the back of those 2 snipes, that Gooby play after that Baron team fight. Catching Harbo, catching Kitano with that snipe on the W. Those deaths meant that you can take that soul while the death times are still up, so very nicely done. Those little things, they might not seem like a big difference, but my goodness, getting that soul is very, very big here, as Vanir still continue to push and are still looking for those picks. But look at Bot with Niter.
Yeah.
He's trying to win the game, he's backdooring, it's basically a base race.
I mean, he's already taken down an inhib tower. He's looking for an inhibitor. Harbo is going back on the side of Vanir, but he doesn't have TP, so if Verdant opt for an engage onto this top side, they're going to be favoured. 3-level gap in favour of Niter if he wants to go for a 1v1, but Verdant, I think, have to play on the back foot for the time being. They don't want to offer Vanir an opportunity to take down this inhib tower. And they will not. PP Bat level 16 for himself. This Kindred has really recovered in this game, but Moxox, well, he's going to have to go to a hospital to recover from the Void Seeker.
God, it's so gross. Old school Nidlee's back, and this time she has 3 screens worth of range. Why do her auto attacks do so much damage when her W does that as well? She's building AP, man. Why does Kai'Sa still hurt that much? Her auto attack should be nothing. It should be pathetic. Why does she have it all?
This is the unfair aspect of Verdant's draft, though, right? Like, they have really good early fights and early skirmishing, and yet they also scale obscenely well.
Yeah.
You have this maximum scaling build with the Kai'Sa, so you have to itemize MR. You have this max scaling build with the Tristana, so you have to maximize on armor. Where do you really go? Even Menexen is useful when his lanes are winning, because he just gets to play utility for these guys. Mumu scales well. Braum just prevents you doing things. The composition is so good for Verdant if they could just not get caught out, not really mess up on these. Right now we're looking at jungle support, right? So far, Vanir, they've managed to make catches on jungle support in their jungle, maybe PayPal a little as well, and that's been what's been bringing them back into the game. But if Wendell and Taxa don't get caught out, that's just disgusting.
Yeah,
if Gooby just keeps pelting out the damage, then Vanir are sure to lose. So a little bit of ibs, but Vanir have played within those ibs, and they've managed to find something.
And you consider the way that the games have gone today, it's been the team that gets the lead, kind of closes it out with fairly prejudiced motives. And Vanir fighting back in the last game of the day. Moxox now 4 items for himself in addition to that stopwatch. PP back getting very, very close to 4 items for himself on the Kindred. And this double marksman scaling into the late game. It's really going to be a battle of which team with both AD carries is able to get them to effectively deal damage in these team fights.
It is something that's going to be navigated very, very tightly by both teams, because the amount of damage on both these sides is ginormous. Obviously, Goobies is throwing out all this poke, but just a few auto attacks from any of these carries at this point. You know, that third hit from Kindred. Oh my goodness, completely. I had Kai'Sa stuck in my head. Oh, that third hit from Kindred. And that's a big bomber as well. A Sheen hit makes it a lot more painful too. Like, there's just so much going down here. You have to be very, very careful. And I think if you're Verdant, you're kind of just chilling here, pushing the waves in, and maybe even just waiting for a next objective. Trying to control the map as best you can, which you can do when you've got these inhibitors down. You can get that push. But if you can control the map, then you can make it very dark, and then Vanir have to face check into you when it comes time to take away this Baron or this Elder Dragon. So really can make it difficult. But PP Pat's read this play. He's read the play from Niter.
Oh, he wants to go on top of Harbo's able to get over the wall, but Kindred, fun fact, she could chase you to her heart's content. Has to use the Buster Shot to push PP Bat away, and that's a big defensive tool for Niter if someone gets on top of him.
I don't think it's going to mean a huge amount in the grand scheme of things just yet. Already caught all the way down through that cooldown. Baron's up in 15 seconds. The entirety of the top side of the map is dark for Vanir. They can't see a single thing. So many pink wards being placed down from Verdant as well alongside the sweep. Vanir will have to face check. They don't really have any good tools to do so. And this could be dangerous for Verdant. A good little face check here for Vanir into a combo from Taxa, and it's all danger.
It should pick onto Wendell.
Look at the range on Niter. He's playing right at its limits right now, but he could be even safer
What's
than
Nile
this.
doing?
Nile's going for pressure. He's turning a pressure point
the
on
top lane. Oh, Wendell! He failed at the shield. He threw it the wrong way. Wasn't able to interrupt Taxa. Once again, flashing back. But Moxox gets 2! Vanir fight a huge team fight at the gates of Verdant's base, and it doesn't matter who the AD carry is in late game team fights, he'll turn up for Vanir. That's 4 dead for Verdant. Lilla can do nothing to stop this push. Vanir are gonna win!
I can't believe it. I can't believe what we're seeing. Vanir are gonna win this game. They've done it. They've taken down the best team in the league, and they were down. It was a comeback win. What a gutsy win for Vanir.